Welcome to Jordan Pierce Stories, where the most dramatic, surprising, and emotional stories come to life. Today we're diving into a tale that begins with something seemingly ordinary, yet unravels into a chain of unbelievable events. A struggling single mum, in a moment of pure kindness, bandaged a billionaire's injured hand. She thought it was nothing more than a small gesture, but the very next morning, a fleet of sleek black cars appeared in front of her house, shocking the entire neighborhood. What really happened? Why did such a simple act change her and her son's lives forever? And is this the beginning of a love story, a struggle for power, or a dangerous hidden plot? Stay with us through all 8 chapters to discover the twists, the heartfelt moments, and the truths that will keep you on the edge of your seat. And if you love emotional, dramatic, and captivating stories like this, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a single episode. The evening sun dipped low, its final rays filtering through the thinning trees of a worn-down street. In a small, modest house tucked into the corner of an aging neighborhood, the sounds of children's laughter mixed with the blaring horns of traffic. Inside that house, a thin woman with hastily tied hair busied herself preparing a simple dinner for her young son. Her name was Mai, a single mom. Life had hardened her, from the worn-down shoes on her feet to the calluses on her hands after endless shifts. Yet in her eyes there was always determination, and on her lips a gentle smile, no matter how merciless life could be. That evening, on her way home from an extra shift at a small diner, Mai stumbled upon something unusual. A well-dressed man, his crisp white shirt stained with red, slumped against a lamppost. People passed by in waves, but none stopped. Some whispered, probably just drunk, not worth the trouble. But Mai was different. Her heart, already tender from her own hardships, simply wouldn't let her ignore him. Are you all right? She asked cautiously, her voice tinged with worry. The man raised his head, revealing dark, piercing eyes, tired, yet undeniably proud. He was not an ordinary man. Even in such a state, his expensive clothes, the gleaming watch on his wrist, and the aura of command in his every movement revealed the truth. This was a man of wealth, maybe even one of the most powerful in the city. No, I'm fine. I can handle it, he rasped, his voice hoarse but stubborn. Mai didn't believe him. She saw the blood dripping from his hand and quickly pulled out a clean cloth from her bag, a handkerchief she usually carried for her son. With trembling yet steady fingers, she wrapped it gently around his wound. The man stared at her, surprised, as if he had never experienced someone touching him so naturally before. Mai had no idea that this small act, bandaging a stranger's hand, was about to unlock a door that would change her life forever. She had no clue that tonight would be the last night her quiet, struggling life remained the same. Out on the street, the wind picked up, tossing her messy hair. She didn't notice that from a distance someone inside a sleek black car was watching. The man lifted his phone and spoke coldly. Prepare for tomorrow. She's going to need protection. After wrapping the bandage, Mai gently pulled her hands back, her eyes flickering with hesitation. She wasn't used to being so close to men who dressed this expensively. Deep down, she told herself, he's probably just a passerby. I helped him and that's it. But things were far from that simple. Thank you, the man muttered, his voice raspy, brief but sincere. Mai nodded quickly, rising to her feet. It's nothing, just something anyone would do, she replied with a faint smile, ready to leave. But suddenly, his strong hand caught her wrist, not tight, but firm enough to stop her. What's your name? His dark eyes pierced into hers. Mai blinked in surprise. A stranger asking for her name at a moment like this, it made her uneasy. I'm Mai, she whispered, lowering her gaze, trying to escape that commanding stare. Mai, he repeated as if memorizing a secret. Then he let go of her, leaning his head back against the lamppost, closing his eyes as though regaining strength. Mai lingered a moment, then sighed softly. You should go to a hospital. That wound isn't something to ignore. With that, she pulled her worn-out cloth bag tighter against her shoulder and walked toward the narrow alley that led home. Little did she know, every word, every gesture she made had already imprinted itself in the mysterious man's memory. Moments after she disappeared, 2 sleek black cars rolled to a stop. Several men in suits stepped out, bowing respectfully. Sir, we're here to take you. The man nodded faintly, his voice low and hoarse. Let's go. Meanwhile, Mai reached home. Dinner had gone cold on the table, and her little boy was waiting impatiently. She smiled, apologizing as she hurried to sit and eat with him, as if it were just another ordinary evening. But she had no idea. Neither her small house nor her quiet neighborhood would ever be ordinary again after tonight. That evening's dinner passed, as if nothing unusual had happened, but Mai couldn't shake a strange unease in her chest. She wondered if that man was truly all right. Surely someone must have picked him up by now, she thought, shaking her head to banish the stray worry. Her priority was her little boy, who was excitedly waving a new drawing. "Look, Mum."
"It's us!"
the boy exclaimed. In the messy crayon sketch, there was a small house, a long-haired mother, and a smiling boy holding her hand. Mai laughed, though her eyes stung with tears. Every hardship, every ounce of exhaustion was worth it, just to see that innocent smile. Night fell, and the neighborhood sank into quiet. Mai cradled her son, softly humming an old lullaby. She had no idea that at the very same moment, in a brightly lit skyscraper across town, the mysterious man sat in a luxurious suite, surrounded by his private doctor and sharply dressed aides. "Sir, are you certain about this?" one of them asked, bowing slightly. "Yes." The billionaire's voice was calm now, edged with command. "I want to know everything about her, who she is, where she lives, her family, and—" He paused, a flicker of something unreadable crossing his eyes. "Make sure she and her child are absolutely protected." The room fell into tense silence. The aides exchanged quick glances, then nodded and rushed out to execute his orders. To them, his word was absolute law. Back in her tiny home, Mai remained unaware that the door of fate had just swung open. By the next morning, what awaited her was not peace, but a storm, one that began with the low, thunderous growl of engines echoing through her quiet street. The roar of engines grew louder, heavier, almost threatening. That morning, the quiet slum street erupted into chaos. Eyes widened in shock and curiosity as the narrow alley leading to Mai's tiny home filled with sleek black cars. Dozens, no, hundreds of luxury vehicles lined the street, their glossy paint gleaming under the sun. The sight looked straight out of a movie, as if two different worlds had suddenly collided. The cramped poverty of the neighborhood and the intimidating wealth rolling in. Neighbors whispered and gasped, "My God, what's happening? I've never seen this many luxury cars in my life." Why here? Nobody important lives on this street. Inside, Mai froze at the noise outside. Her little boy darted to the window, eyes wide. "Mom, look at all the fancy cars. Are they here for us?" Before she could answer, heavy knocks rattled the door.
Bang! Bang!
Bang! Each pound seemed to hammer straight into her chest, leaving her legs weak. Who could possibly be looking for her, when her life had always been so quiet? The old wooden door creaked open to reveal a group of men in black suits and dark glasses stepping out of the luxurious cars. They bowed slightly in unison, and the man at the front spoke in a deep, formal voice. "Miss Mai, we've been sent to protect you and your son." Mai's breath caught. Her mind spun with questions. Protect me from what? How do they know my name, and what does this have to do with the mysterious man from last night? But the most frightening realization was clear. From this moment on, her life was no longer her own. A door had opened, leading into a world of power, danger, and secrets she had never imagined. Mai stood frozen at the doorway, her heart pounding wildly. In front of her was an entire squad of strangers, dressed like men out of a movie, calling her name as if they had always known it. Her little boy clung tightly to her sleeve, whispering nervously, "Mom, who are they?" Mai swallowed hard, trying to steady her voice. "You must have the wrong person. I'm just an ordinary mother. There's nothing about me that needs protection." Her tone wavered, edged with frustration. The man at the front shook his head calmly but firmly. "No, Miss Mai, there is no mistake. Your identity has been confirmed. These are direct orders from the chairman." "Chairman? Who?" Mai frowned, an image flashing through her mind. The proud man from last night, bleeding yet still carrying himself with undeniable dignity. Her heart tightened with an emotion she couldn't name. The suited man bowed slightly, his voice dropping with reverence. Chairman Adrian Blackwell. The name crashed into Mai like thunder. Even a struggling woman like her had heard of it. Adrian Blackwell, the young billionaire, infamous for being cold and ruthless in business, one of the most powerful men in America. It was said that with a single nod, Adrian could turn a company into an empire, and with a single frown, thousands could lose their jobs overnight. Mai's knees weakened, nearly giving out beneath her. Oh God, the man I helped last night wasn't just anyone, it was Adrian Blackwell. But what could possibly make a man like him care about an ordinary single mom like her? Mai tried to take a deep breath, but her heart kept racing uncontrollably. She glanced around. Neighbors had gathered outside in clusters, whispering, pointing, staring. The looks varied. Curiosity, envy, confusion, even suspicion. In an instant, it felt like the entire street had turned its eyes on her. Please, just leave. I don't want any trouble, Mai murmured, almost pleading. But the man in the black suit shook his head, offering a polite but unyielding smile. I'm sorry, Miss Mai, but we cannot leave until our mission is fulfilled. Chairman Adrian's orders are to guarantee your absolute safety, and your son's. Mai froze. Those two words, Chairman Adrian, wrapped around her heart like chains. She had never known him, never imagined crossing paths with a billionaire of such stature. All she had done was offer a simple kindness. And yet, her world was spinning out of control. At that moment, her little boy tugged at her sleeve, his innocent eyes wide with wonder. Mom, are they really here to protect us? Like superheroes? Mai's throat tightened. She didn't know what to say. While she wrestled with the whirlwind in her mind, one of the suited men stepped forward, holding out a black envelope stamped with a golden seal. This is a personal letter from Chairman Adrian, addressed to you, he said firmly. Mai's hands trembled as she took it. The envelope was unlike anything she had ever touched. Thick paper, the faint scent of ink, a raised, gleaming emblem, a letter from the most powerful man she had ever seen, someone she had only briefly encountered in the shadows of last night. Her tiny home seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the moment she would tear it open. Mai's hands trembled as she slowly opened the envelope. The paper inside was thick and smooth, the ink dark and bold, written in strong, decisive strokes. The very first line stopped her heart cold. Miss Mai, I owe you my life. She blinked, reading the words again and again. The man the world called ruthless, the man who never bowed to anyone, had written her a letter filled with raw sincerity. The next lines unfolded before her eyes. Without you, I might have lost far more than a hand. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in choices. And last night, you chose to stop when the rest of the world walked past me. From this day forward, I will be the one who stops for you. Mai swallowed hard, each word striking deep into her chest. You have nothing to fear. The men outside will protect you and your son from anything. I know this must feel overwhelming, but I will not allow danger to touch either of you. There will come a time when I meet you again in person. Until then, trust that everything happens for a reason. At the bottom, a single signature stretched across the page, bold and commanding. Adrian Blackwell. The paper shook in her hands as a breeze slipped through the doorway. Her little boy peered up curiously. Mom, who sent us that letter? Was it the handsome man from last night? Mai's throat tightened, caught between a laugh and a sob. A letter from the man the world feared and respected most had landed in her hands, hers. A single mother with nothing but kindness in her heart and love for her child. But beneath the awe, a heavy question stirred inside her. If these words are true, how will our lives change from this moment on? Word spread like wildfire. Within hours, the tiny neighborhood where Mai lived had become the center of attention. People crowded around, whispering and gawking. The row of sleek black cars outside looked less like a street in a poor district, and more like a motorcade for a head of state. She must be seeing a rich man, one neighbor sneered, her eyes green with envy. No, I heard it's the mafia. All those black cars? Suspicious as hell, another chimed in. Or maybe she's done something shady, and now she's under watch. Each murmur pierced into Mai's ears, making her cheeks burn with both anger and shame. All she wanted was to hold her son and disappear somewhere far away, away from every judging glance. But the suited men outside remained silent, standing like statues, forming an invisible wall between her and the familiar world she once knew. That night, Mai hardly slept. She sat by the window, watching. The cars were still there, their glossy paint glinting under the streetlights. In the dim glow, the silhouettes of the guards loomed, silent shadows on watch. Her little boy stirred, whispering in his dreams. Mom, the superheroes really are protecting us. Mai stroked his hair gently, her heart heavy. She knew these weren't superheroes. This was a world of power, secrets, and danger, and somehow she had stumbled straight into it. Far away, in the penthouse of the city's most luxurious hotel, Adrian Blackwell sat quietly by the window, a glass of red wine in hand. His gaze drifted into the distance, memories of a woman's steady eyes and gentle hands replaying in his mind. "My," he whispered softly, as though making a silent vow to himself. The next morning, as Mai stepped outside to buy vegetables for breakfast, the entire street erupted. Dozens of eyes fixed on her, sharp with suspicion, their whispers following her every move. There she is. Looks so ordinary, but why all those cars guarding her? Must be some shady relationship with a rich guy. Watch, next thing you know, the news will drag our whole neighborhood into this. Mai bit her lip hard, clutching her basket tightly as she lowered her head, walking faster. But the curiosity of her neighbors only grew louder. One woman shouted, "Hey Mai, if something's going on, you'd better come clean. Don't put the whole street at risk." Mai froze, humiliation rising hot in her chest. She hadn't even formed a reply when, suddenly, 2 black cars opened their doors. Several men in suits stepped out and quickly surrounded her, forming a protective circle. The sight only fueled the crowd's frenzy. Her little boy gripped her hand, eyes wide and fearful. "Mom, why is everyone staring?" "I'm scared." Mai squeezed his tiny fingers, forcing a smile to calm him, though her heart was racing. She had no idea that at that very moment, blurry phone photos of the mysterious black cars in her alley were already spreading online. Headlines screamed across social media. "Fleet of black cars spotted in slum neighborhood. Who is the woman they're guarding?" A storm of public attention was gathering, and Mai stood helplessly at its center. By mid-morning, the front of Mai's worn-down house was swarming with people, not just curious neighbors anymore. This time reporters had arrived, cameras flashing, microphones thrust forward like weapons. Voices overlapped in a relentless storm of questions. "Who are you? What's your connection to Adrian Blackwell? Are you the billionaire's secret lover the press never uncovered? Why would a tycoon assign an entire fleet of guards to protect a poor single mum like you?" Mai froze on the doorstep, her heart hammering. Her little boy clung to her leg, terrified by the blinding camera flashes. She wanted to scream that it was all a misunderstanding, that she had only bandaged a wounded man. But the noise, the suspicion, the flashing lights choked her voice before it could escape. At once, the men in black suits surged forward, forming a solid barrier between her and the press. One of them barked, "Step back. Miss Mai and her son will not answer questions." The reporters grew even wilder, shoving closer, cameras snapping furiously. Rumors roared louder. "It's confirmed. She's linked to Adrian Blackwell. This could be the biggest scandal of the year among the elite." Mai trembled, clutching her son's hand tightly, the world tilting beneath her feet. Backing away, she heard herself whisper, broken and desperate, Why is all of this happening to me?" Across the city, inside a lavish suite, Adrian Blackwell sat before a large screen. He watched the live feed from his guards, his eyes narrowing. His voice cut through the silence, cold and commanding. "Shut the press down. I won't let her suffer a single second more." The noise outside Mai's home suddenly shifted as a long, sleek black limousine rolled into the narrow street. Cameras whipped around, shutters firing in rapid bursts, flashes popping like fireworks. The crowd stirred with frenzy. "Whose car is that? Look at that license plate. It's reserved for the ultra-elite. No way. Could it really be him?" The car door opened. A tall man in a sharp black suit stepped out, radiating an aura of cold, commanding power. It was none other than Adrian Blackwell. His upright stance and piercing eyes were enough to silence the entire street. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. Ignoring the frantic reporters, Adrian walked straight toward Mai's worn little house. His guards parted the crowd, clearing a path with precision. Mai stood frozen at the doorway, eyes wide in disbelief. The man she had helped last night, the man she thought she'd never see again, was now standing before her, every inch exuding the dominance of someone who owned the world. Adrian stopped in front of her. For a fleeting second, his gaze softened as it met hers. He gave a small nod. "Mai, just one word." But his deep, steady voice made her heart tighten. Her little boy peeked out from behind her, whispering nervously, "Mom." He looks like someone from a movie. Behind them, reporters shouted furiously, "Mr. Blackwell!" "What's your relationship with her? Is this your newest affair scandal?" Adrian turned, his eyes sweeping across the mob with lethal coldness. His voice rumbled, low and powerful. "None of you have the right to disturb her." If even one of you takes another step, he paused, his stare like a blade. Your career in journalism is over. The reporters froze, their hands trembling as cameras lowered. Silence fell heavy, absolute, and in that moment, May realized, from this day forward, her life and her son's would never, ever be the same. The air was thick, the whole street falling silent after Adrian's cutting words. Reporters who had been shouting moments ago now lingered at a distance, their eyes trembling with both fear and hunger for the breaking story unfolding before them. Adrian turned back to Mai, his gaze steady. His voice was firm yet calm. "Let me inside. We need to talk." Mai's body stiffened, her mind in chaos. Part of her wanted to scream no, to cling to the last shred of normalcy she had left. But his eyes, strong, dark, unshakable, and strangely assuring, choked the refusal in her throat. She nodded faintly. "But please, come in." The tiny house seemed to shrink as Adrian stepped inside. He didn't belong here, not with his flawless suit, his commanding aura, and every step that seemed to overpower the humble, fragile space. Mai awkwardly pulled out a chair for him, while her son peeked curiously from behind her, wide-eyed at the powerful stranger. Adrian sat, his gaze locked onto hers. His voice was low, direct. "I know my presence, and the fleet outside, has turned your life upside down. But I had no choice. After last night, you and your son became easy targets for those who want to hurt me." Mai's breath caught. "Hurt you? But I have nothing to do with your world." Adrian leaned forward, his eyes sharper, darker. "It's because you think you have nothing to do with it that you're in greater danger. You saved me, and that means my enemies will notice you. I won't allow that to happen." The room fell into tense silence. Mai clenched her hands, her heartbeat thundering in her ears, fear tangled with confusion. Yet somewhere deep inside, a strange sense of safety stirred, as if this man truly could stand against the world itself to protect her and her son. Mai sat across from Adrian, her hands clenched together so tightly her knuckles turned white. The small room was so silent she could hear the clock ticking on the wall. She felt like she had stepped into another world, a world foreign, dangerous, and far beyond her reach. Adrian took a sip of the water she had nervously poured, then set the glass down on the worn wooden table. His eyes met hers, cold, yet carrying something unspoken beneath the surface. "Mai," he said in his deep, husky voice, "do you know that last night, while you bandaged my hand, at least 2 men were watching us?" Her breath caught. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. A shiver ran through her body, as though a cold wind had swept through the little house. "They weren't ordinary men," Adrian continued. "They're rivals, men who will do anything to bring me down. And because you appeared at that moment, because you helped me, you and your son have become part of a chain they'll target." Mai inhaled sharply, her chest tightening. "But I'm just a single mom. I have nothing to do with your world. Why would they want to hurt me?" Adrian leaned forward, his voice dropping lower, sharper. "Because to them, anyone I care about is a weakness to exploit." Mai sat frozen. In that moment, she realized she had been pulled into a storm she could never escape. And what terrified her most was Adrian's gaze, direct, unwavering, as if silently declaring that from this moment on, her life would no longer be hers alone. Mai sat frozen, Adrian's words echoing in her mind like thunder. "Anyone I care about becomes a weakness to exploit." The statement left her both shaken and oddly unsettled. What was he implying? Care? Why me? Her little boy toddled over, climbing into her lap. "Mum, I'm hungry." Mai quickly wrapped her arms around him, as though holding him could shield her from the surreal reality closing in. But when she glanced up, she caught Adrian's gaze fixed on them, his eyes sharp yet briefly softened, as if he were looking at something unfamiliar. "A family." "Listen to me, Mai," Adrian pressed on, his voice firm. "You may hate me, you may not want anything to do with me, but I will not pull my men back. The more you refuse, the more my enemies will sense weakness. And then, you and your son will never be safe." Mai swallowed hard, her throat tightening. She had never known protection, never lived under the shadow of men in suits with weapons hidden under their jackets. It was a world too far from the one she knew, a world she never wanted. "You don't understand," she whispered, her voice trembling. "All I want is a quiet life raising my son. I don't need this protection. I don't want to be caught in your battles for power." Adrian was silent for a moment, Then, his lips curved slightly, his eyes dark and steady. His words fell, cold but resolute. Sometimes we don't get to choose. You saved me, and that means I am bound to save you, whether you want me to or not. Mai's heart wavered. Torn between the urge to retreat and the fear of being consumed by his world, she felt something else flicker inside her, something she didn't expect. In Adrian's gaze, beyond duty, there was a trace of genuine care, and that scared her even more. The next day, Mai thought the frenzy might calm down. She was wrong. News of the black cars, of the powerful man standing at her shabby doorstep, had exploded across television, online tabloids, and social media. Headlines screamed, "The mysterious woman in billionaire Adrian Blackwell's life." Love affair or scandal, the single mum shaking the world of the elite. From slums to billionaire's mansion, fairy tale or dark scheme, her neighbours were relentless. Some whispered, some mocked openly. Quite the climb, isn't it? Straight to the top. She must know how to seduce a rich man. Won't be long before she abandons this place. Every glance, every murmur at the market cut into Mai like a blade. Her little boy, innocent and proud, told his friends about the men in black who guarded our house. Within minutes, he was teased and mocked until he ran home in tears, collapsing into Mai's arms. She held him tight, her own eyes brimming red. That night, Mai sat alone in the dimly lit room, her shoulders trembling. On the table lay Adrian's letter. She stared at it through blurred vision, torn between anger, fear, and confusion. How could a small act of kindness have thrown her and her son into the eye of such a storm? Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Not loud, not aggressive, soft, yet commanding. Mai opened it, and there stood Adrian, alone. No guards, no entourage. His eyes burned through the dark, as if he already knew the battle raging inside her. "Mai," he said, his deep voice steady, "you don't have to endure this alone. I've come to give you a choice. Either I protect you quietly, in the shadows, or I protect you openly, so the whole world knows you are the one I owe." And more than that, Mai's heart clenched. Both choices were terrifying. Yet his eyes, unyielding, sincere, made it impossible for her to look away. Mai stood frozen at the doorway, the night wind tangling her hair. Adrian's words echoed in her mind. "I will protect you quietly, or openly, so the world knows you are the one I owe." Both paths suffocated her. If she chose silence, she would live in constant fear, shadowed by enemies she couldn't see. If she chose the open path, the world would dissect her life, label her, and her little boy would grow up under a microscope of doubt. Clutching her son's hand, Mai lifted her chin to meet Adrian's eyes. "Have you ever thought that I never wanted any of this? All I wanted was a quiet life, a small home, a future for my son. Why should I have to endure all this?" Her voice cracked, equal parts anger and despair. Adrian's gaze lingered on her. For the first time, beneath his usual steel, a flicker of sorrow shone through. He stepped closer, his voice dropping low. "Mai, I understand. But your peace vanished the moment you reached out to me that night. I wish I could repay you in a simple way, but my world is never simple. And now, you're not just the woman I owe. You're the woman I cannot ignore." Her chest tightened, her knees trembling. She wanted to fight back, but his words pierced through her defenses, leaving her raw and unsteady. Adrian Blackwell, the man feared by the world, was speaking to her almost as if he were pleading. Mai turned away, clutching her son close. Inside her, a storm raged, to run or to stay, to reject him or to step into a world where she knew there would be no turning back. Outside, the headlights of the black cars cast long streaks of light against the walls. Adrian's figure remained at her door, unyielding, immovable, like fate itself standing in her path. The next morning, chaos erupted again outside Mai's home, this time louder, bigger, and even more invasive. Reporters packed the street. Neighbours gathered as if it were a spectacle. Headlines screamed from posters and live news feeds. Adrian Blackwell's secret romance exposed. The poor woman who captured a billionaire's heart. Fairy tale or scandal? Who is this single mom? Mai's hands shook as she pulled the curtains shut, feeling stripped bare under the weight of countless eyes. Her little boy clung to her hand, his voice trembling. "Mom, why are they all looking at us? I don't like this." She hugged him tight, her eyes stinging. She wanted to scream that it was all a mistake, that she had no part in that glittering world. But the truth was cruel. She had already been cast as the lead in a play she never asked to join. Just then, the door opened. Adrian walked in, alone, without guards this time, his expression calm, yet his eyes burned with determination. He placed a morning newspaper in front of her. The headline screamed in bold letters, "Adrian Blackwell, seen at single mum's home, vows to protect her at all costs." Mai's breath caught. You did this?" Adrian gave a slow nod, his voice low but resolute. "Yes, I went public. You don't have to hide anymore. The world will know you are not alone, and anyone who dares to touch you will have to face me." The room went still. Mai's heart pounded wildly, caught between fear, confusion, and the strange warmth creeping into her chest. The moment Adrian went public, the media exploded like a bomb. Major news outlets broke the story, talk shows debated endlessly, and social media was set ablaze. One TV anchor declared gravely, "For the first time ever, Adrian Blackwell, the man known for being cold and private, has publicly vowed to protect a woman. The question is, who is this single mom, and why did she make him break his iron rule?" Among the elite, the news hit like an earthquake. Business rivals smirked. Adrian finally has a weakness. Dig into that woman, and his empire will crumble. Meanwhile, hidden enemies began to stir. Phones rang in shadowy rooms. Hushed voices whispered, "Keep her under surveillance. Find the boy's vulnerability. This is our one chance to bring Adrian Blackwell down." As for Mai, she could hardly believe what was happening. She watched herself and her son appear on TV screens, their images spliced, dissected, and analyzed as if they were characters in a soap opera. The cruel comments online stung like knives. "She's clearly a gold digger. She's just exploiting sympathy." "A single mum? Sounds more like a PR stunt." Mai quickly shut off the TV, clutching her frightened son in her arms. She felt as though she were drowning in a storm she could never escape. Adrian stood nearby, silently watching. Then he stepped closer, his voice low and steady. "Don't read any of it. Don't believe them. I won't let anyone lay a hand on you or your son." Mai looked up, her eyes brimming with tears. For a fleeting moment, she wanted to believe him, and yet she was terrified, because his promise came from a man powerful enough to make it real. That day, Adrian chose to face the media head-on. A sudden press conference was announced at the city's most luxurious hotel. News spread like wildfire, and by noon the grand hall was packed with hundreds of reporters, cameras flashing relentlessly. Everyone held their breath. What would the most private man of the elite say? When Adrian entered, the air seemed to freeze, his black suit immaculate, his familiar cold gaze sharp as ever. But today, there was something else in his eyes. Resolve. The first question was shouted across the hall. "Mr. Blackwell, can you confirm what is your relationship with this woman? Is she your secret lover?" Adrian stopped in his tracks, turning squarely toward the crowd. His voice boomed, each word like a blade slicing through the air. "Her name is Mai. She saved my life when everyone else walked away. From that moment forward, I will protect her, no matter what it takes." The hall went still. Cameras clicked furiously, but no one dared to scoff. Another reporter pushed forward, bold enough to ask, "But why her? A poor single mom, nothing extraordinary. Why her?" Adrian's eyes narrowed, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. "Perhaps because she did what none of you could. She saw me as a man, not a walking wallet." A ripple of murmurs swept the room. Some reporters flushed, looking down in shame. Adrian strode to the podium, ending the conference with a declaration that sent shockwaves through the world. "She is not a scandal. She is not a secret. She's the only one I trust, and from this day on, anyone who touches her, touches me." Across town, Mai sat frozen before her TV, her hands trembling. She had never imagined her name would be spoken alongside a man like him, and inside her chest, a strange fire sparked. Confusion, fear, gratitude, and a feeling she dared not name. The little house was quiet, as Mai sat frozen, her eyes still glued to the TV screen that had just broadcast Adrian's press conference. She had heard every word he said. His voice, deep, steady, unshakable, still echoed in her ears. The door creaked open. Mai startled. Adrian stepped inside. No guards, no fanfare. Just him, in the same immaculate suit. But his eyes softened the moment they landed on her. Mai stammered, torn between anger and turmoil. "Why did you do that? Why expose me to the entire world?" Do you have any idea what my life and my son's life has turned into because of you? Adrian stayed silent for a few beats, letting her release the storm bottled up inside. Then he spoke, his tone calm but firm, because they had already begun to dig, to spread lies, to smear your name. If I stayed silent, you would have been crushed under the weight of their judgment. But by going public, I made sure they know you are not alone. They'll be forced to see you differently. But I don't want your world, Mai cried, tears spilling as she buried her face in her hands. All I want is a quiet life to raise my son. You've given me attention I never asked for. Adrian stepped closer, stopping just a breath away. His voice dropped low, almost a whisper. Mai, I can't give you peace, but I can give you safety and perhaps more than that if you'll let me. Her little boy peeked out from his room, eyes wide at the scene. Mai quickly wiped her tears and pulled him into her arms. In that moment, Adrian's gaze lingered on them. No longer the proud, ruthless billionaire, but something softer, something painfully sincere. The room fell into silence, filled only with the pounding of Mai's heart, and she knew from this moment on, the road ahead would hold no turning back. The day after Adrian's press conference, the world was on fire. America buzzed with headlines. Financial magazines plastered bold covers. Adrian Blackwell breaks his own rules. News stations replayed the clip of him publicly vowing to protect Mai. But behind closed doors in the elite world, the reaction was starkly different. A banking tycoon sneered. So he finally shows his weakness. A powerful businesswoman, sipping wine in her penthouse, smirked. This is our chance. Drag that woman through the mud. Adrian will have to lose focus. And in the shadows, enemies plotted darker moves. A man in a long coat spoke into his phone, voice cold as ice. The boy is the key. If we can't touch Adrian, we touch the child. Meanwhile, in the poor neighborhood, Mai was unraveling. Every time she stepped outside, eyes followed her, phones snapped pictures. Some pitied her, others mocked her. One day, she overheard neighbors whisper, "Her kid will never have a normal life again." The words stabbed her heart. That night, she resolved to confront Adrian. She couldn't allow her son to become prey to gossip or to danger. When darkness fell, Adrian arrived as always, stepping quietly into the small house. Mai stood waiting, her eyes red, her voice trembling but firm. "If you truly want to protect me, then protect my son first. I can endure this, but he cannot." Adrian studied her for a long moment, then gave a slow nod. His voice was deeper, sharper than ever. "From this day forward, he will be protected, as if he were my own son." The words left Mai stunned. Fear and confusion mingled inside her chest, but also a flicker of warmth, as though her boy had just gained another unshakable shield. In the days that followed, the tension around Mai's house grew heavier. The fleet of black cars stood guard day and night. Bodyguards rotated shifts without pause. At first, neighbors had gawked curiously. Now, they kept their distance, afraid of being caught in whatever storm was brewing. One afternoon, walking her son home from school, Mai spotted a shadow at the end of the alley. A man in a dark coat, his cap pulled low, stood watching them. His stare was cold, predatory. Mai's chest tightened. She gripped her son's hand and quickened her pace. Two guards immediately closed in around them, but when they turned, the man had vanished. That night, Mai couldn't stop trembling. Adrian's warning echoed in her mind. My enemies will go for my weakness. The next morning, the fear materialized. When she opened her front door, a crimson envelope lay on the steps. Inside, there was no letter. Only a photograph of her son walking to school, taken from behind, with a thick black slash drawn across the image. Her hands shook violently. She pulled her boy into her arms, tears streaming down her face. Never had danger felt so real, so close. That evening, Adrian arrived. The moment he saw the photo, his face darkened, his eyes blazing with icy fury. His fist clenched as he growled, voice hard as steel. "They dared to touch your son. Fine. Then from now on, no more mercy." And in that moment, Mai felt two things at once. Terror at the storm about to be unleashed, and a strange, unsettling certainty. Adrian would do whatever it took to keep her and her child safe. That night, Mai barely slept. She sat by the bed, cradling her son, ears straining at every noise outside. From time to time, headlights from the black cars swept across the window, illuminating the small room before fading back into the dark. Around midnight, there was a knock at the door. Mai nearly jumped out of her skin. When she opened it, Adrian stepped inside. He wasn't alone. 2 bodyguards followed, carrying a steel briefcase. At his signal, they set it on the table and left. The room shrank to just 3 people: Adrian, Mai, and her sleeping child. Adrian snapped open the case. Inside were stacks of files, photographs, and thick dossiers. Faces of strange men, blurry locations, pages scrawled with codes and numbers. "These are the ones who sent the threat," Adrian said, his voice low and grave. "They belong to an underground network that's been trying to destroy me for years. And now, they think you and your son are the easiest targets." Mai stared at the papers, her eyes trembling. She had never glimpsed a world so dark. "What are you going to do?" Adrian looked up, his eyes sharp as steel. "I'm going to make sure they understand. Touching you was the last mistake of their lives." He picked up his phone, dialed a number, and spoke with chilling calm. "Activate the plan. Erase them from this city." Mai froze, horrified and shaken. She had never seen someone command the fate of others with such cold finality, as if it were an ordinary business order. And yet, when Adrian glanced at her and the boy sleeping peacefully, his gaze softened for just a moment. "Mai," he murmured, "I won't allow anyone to steal your peace, even if I have to turn this city to ashes." Mai's heart trembled, caught between fear and a strange, undeniable spark of trust. The next morning, the atmosphere in Mai's neighborhood shifted. The strange men who once lingered on corners were gone. The dark shadows at the end of the alley had vanished. All that remained were the rows of black cars, steady and unyielding. Mai didn't understand until she accidentally turned on the news. Breaking news: police have dismantled a major criminal network tied to money laundering and assassination plots. The group was taken down in a sudden overnight operation. Sources suggest the raid was carried out with unusual speed and secrecy. The screen showed the very faces Adrian had revealed to her the night before, now in handcuffs, dragged out before the cameras. Mai froze, clutching her chest. Last night they were untouchable shadows, and now it's as if the entire organization had been erased from existence. Just then, Adrian appeared at her door. He stepped in, his eyes calm, unsurprised. "I told you," his voice low and steady. "No one touches your son." Mai stared at him, trembling. You did all of this?" Adrian raised a brow, his gaze sharp as a blade, though his tone was measured. "In my world, if someone strikes, they're eliminated. I never leave threats alive, and if anyone dares to lay a hand on you or your boy, I'll make sure they disappear, as if they never existed." The room fell still. Mai's knees weakened. Part of her recoiled in fear of his absolute power, but another part of her heart stirred, shaken by the fact that this man would overturn the world to keep her safe. Her little boy ran in, eyes sparkling. "Mum, the news says the bad guys were caught." Was it because of him? Mai pulled him close, unable to answer, her eyes locked on Adrian, and in that moment, he gave her something rare, a fleeting smile, warm yet commanding, a promise that no harm would ever touch them. Within days, the atmosphere flipped entirely. Where once the media and public painted Mai as a scandal, now the narrative shifted. The criminal network's sudden downfall coinciding with Adrian's presence at her home made headlines roar with a new angle. The woman who made Adrian Blackwell defy the underworld. From anonymous single mum to the eye of a power storm. Is she the only one who can touch Adrian Blackwell's cold heart? Even glossy fashion magazines splash candid shots of Mai and her son across their covers, stamped with the tagline, "The mystery woman behind the billionaire." Neighbours who once sneered now changed their tune. Some came to her door with flowers, their words dripping with flattery. "Mai, you're so lucky. Our neighbourhood is famous now, all thanks to you." The words stung. They didn't understand. This wasn't luck. It was a dangerous spiral Mai had never wanted, and it was pulling her deeper by the day. That evening, Adrian arrived. No guards, just him, his dark eyes fixed on hers. "Mai, I know public opinion has shifted, but don't believe the smiles. This world is never kind. They'll praise you today, only to wait for the chance to tear you apart tomorrow." Mai clenched her fists, her voice trembling. "Then what do you want me to do? I can't live my whole life in your shadow, but I can't escape their eyes either." Adrian studied her for a long moment, then spoke, his words sending her heart into freefall. Then stand with me. If you can't hide, face them with me. Mai froze at his words. Stand beside him? Face the world openly? The thought made her tremble. She remembered the sneers, the scrutiny, the headlines calling her a gold digger. She wanted to say no, to run. But when she looked at her son, the little boy who believed his mother was the strongest person in the world, she knew she couldn't hide forever. What do you want me to do? She whispered, her voice breaking. Adrian stepped closer, his gaze unwavering. There's a charity gala next week. The entire elite will be there. Tycoons, the press, even my rivals. I want you to come with me, not in the shadows, but as the woman I openly choose to stand by. Mai's breath caught. A charity gala among the wealthy. She was just a single mom with second-hand clothes, living in a cramped house. How could she ever belong in that world? No, I don't fit there. I'd just be their joke. Adrian's brow furrowed slightly, his voice low but commanding. They won't dare laugh. Not when you're with me. And if they do, I'll make sure they regret it for the rest of their lives. Her lips quivered, torn between fear and defiance. Yet deep inside, his words lit a flicker of something else. Something dangerously close to pride. She exhaled shakily. If I do this, there's no going back. Adrian nodded, his eyes deep, his voice like a vow. Mai, from the moment you saved me, there was never a way back. But I promise, whatever lies ahead, you won't walk it alone. In the days leading up to the gala, Mai's life became a whirlwind. Adrian arranged everything, from private sessions with top fashion designers to renowned makeup artists and personal stylists. Mai, who was used to second-hand blouses for the market and simple dresses for work, now stood lost in a room overflowing with silk gowns and glittering heels. She fumbled awkwardly, nearly stumbling in her first pair of stilettos. No, I can't do this. Mai shook her head, her face flushing. I'll trip in front of everyone, and they'll laugh at me. From the corner of the room, Adrian watched, arms folded. His gaze was sharp, but his voice low and steady. They won't dare laugh. You don't understand, Mai. In my eyes, you are already the woman who makes the world bow. One designer leaned toward Adrian, whispering, She has a rare, natural beauty. With just the right touch, the entire ballroom will fall silent when she enters. Mai glanced at herself in the mirror. For the first time, she didn't see the tired, single mother juggling groceries and odd jobs. She saw a woman transformed, elegant, magnetic, though her eyes still wavered with disbelief. That evening, after everyone had left, Adrian handed her a small velvet box. She opened it, gasping at the sight of a dazzling diamond necklace. This is too expensive. I can't accept it, she whispered, her voice trembling. Adrian stepped closer, lifting the box slightly, his eyes locking on hers. It's not a gift, it's a shield. When you wear it, everyone will know. You are Adrian Blackwell's woman. Mai's heart pounded wildly. Fear, confusion, and an unexpected warmth collided inside her. This step would change everything, not just for her, but for her little boy as well. The night of the gala arrived. The city's most opulent hotel glowed like a crystal palace. Massive chandeliers sparkled above, and a crimson carpet stretched from the entrance into the grand ballroom. Reporters crowded shoulder to shoulder, cameras flashing, voices shouting as celebrities paraded past. Inside a sleek limousine, Mai's hands shook uncontrollably. She wore an emerald silk gown that hugged her figure with elegance, the diamond necklace glittering brilliantly under the lights. She felt as though she had stepped into a dream, or stumbled into a world where she didn't belong. Adrian sat beside her, sharp and commanding, yet his gaze on her was soft. Remember this, Mai, he murmured. When the door opens, don't look at them. Don't listen. Just hold my hand. Every whisper, every sneer, let me bear it. Mai swallowed hard, her small trembling hands slipping into his firm grasp. The car door swung open. The roar of cameras erupted like thunder. Shouts filled the air. Is that her? Adrian Blackwell's woman, finally revealed. He's never brought a woman to a public event before. Stepping onto the red carpet, Mai's legs wavered, but Adrian's steady grip anchored her. Gasps rippled through the crowd as they walked into the ballroom together. Whispers rose, sharp and incredulous. She's stunning, unbelievable. A single mum standing here, and Adrian chose her. But can she survive in this world? Mai lifted her chin, meeting the barrage of cameras and stares. She inhaled deeply and held her head high. For the first time, Pride flickered inside her, because she wasn't standing alone anymore. Leaning close, Adrian whispered at her ear, "See? They'll have no choice but to stay silent. Tonight, you are the woman the whole world must look at." The grand gala shimmered with opulence, but tension coiled in the air like a drawn bow. The orchestra played its stately notes, yet all eyes locked on one sight. Adrian Blackwell and the mysterious woman walking at his side. Each step felt unbearably heavy to Mai, as if she carried the weight of the world. The whispers, the scrutinizing gazes, the polite but poisonous smiles, all pressed against her, but Adrian's steady grip on her hand reminded her silently, "Don't be afraid." As they entered the grand hall, the MC faltered before announcing, "Please welcome the unexpected arrival of Mr. Adrian Blackwell and his distinguished companion this evening." Applause rippled across the hall, but beneath it lingered curiosity, envy, suspicion. Mai dipped her head slightly, but then her gaze froze. Across the room in the dim corner, a man stared at her, not like the others. His eyes were cold, sharp as knives, and frighteningly familiar. It was one of the faces from the dossier Adrian had shown her. Her chest clenched, sweat beading on her palms. She whispered urgently, "Adrian, he's here." Adrian didn't even glance over. His grip only tightened, his voice dropping to steel. "Stay calm. This is what I've been waiting for." At that moment, the sharp crash of glass rang out. A tray of champagne spilled, stirring chaos among the guests. The man vanished into the crowd, but his gaze clung to Mai until the last second. Guards fanned out instantly, the air in the gala turning heavy. Guests whispered, cameras turned, sensing something beneath the glittering facade. They had no idea that tonight could erupt into a hidden war. Adrian leaned closer, his breath low against her ear. "This is the first time, and it may be the most dangerous. Are you ready?" Mai swallowed hard, her eyes trembling, but she nodded, because now she knew running was no longer an option. The orchestra still played, but the mood in the ballroom had shifted. After the spilled champagne, whispers swirled, cameras flashed wildly, and Adrian's hidden security spread across the hall, eyes scanning every shadow. Mai clutched Adrian's hand, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. She knew the man was still here, hidden among the glitter of diamonds and champagne flutes. Adrian gave a subtle nod. A guard approached and murmured. He slipped in with a fake invitation. "We're closing in." Adrian narrowed his eyes, his voice low, but deliberate enough for Mai to hear. "He's not here just to watch. He plans to strike tonight." The blood in Mai's veins turned cold. She wanted to scream, to run, but Adrian's grip held her steady. Suddenly, the host's voice boomed over the speakers, inviting Adrian to the stage. Applause erupted as Adrian rose, taking Mai's hand with him. Under the blinding lights, hundreds of eyes fixed on them. Mai's head spun, but then realization hit. This wasn't just a charity gala. This was a declaration of war. Adrian's voice thundered across the hall, deep and resolute. "Tonight, I am not here only for charity. I am here to make it clear. Anyone who dares threaten me or those under my protection will find no place left in this city." The ballroom froze. Gasps and whispers rippled like a wave. Across the crowd, the man's eyes flashed like a drawn blade. Then Mai saw it. A shadow moving fast toward them. Panic surged. She squeezed Adrian's hand, her voice breaking. "Adrian! He's coming!" Adrian tilted his head, his gaze cold as ice locking onto the threat. His words cut through the chaos, sharp as a death sentence. "Take him!" The ballroom erupted into chaos. Screams, shattering glass, and frantic camera flashes collided in a deafening storm. Guests in glittering gowns and tuxedos scattered, parting like waves before a storm. The man lunged toward the stage, a flash of steel glinting in his hand, a thin, razor-sharp dagger. But in an instant, two of Adrian's bodyguards surged from the shadows, slamming him to the floor. Chairs toppled, metal clattered, the sound like a hammer striking silence. Mai stood frozen, breathless. The scene unfolded so fast it felt unreal. A single mother like her, who once worried only about groceries and school fees, now watched violence and blood play out beneath chandeliers of crystal. Adrian remained tall on the stage, his gaze sweeping the hall like an iron blade. Unshaken, he gestured to the orchestra. The music resumed, as though the chaos had been no more than a performance. "Remove him," Adrian commanded, his voice deep and calm. Immediately, the man was dragged away like a beast caught in a trap. The ballroom fell silent. Then slowly, applause began. Hesitant at first, then louder, swelling into thunderous claps. The elite understood. Adrian Blackwell was not merely a billionaire, he was power incarnate. Mai clutched her hands to her chest, her heart trembling with both terror and awe. Adrian leaned close, his husky voice brushing her ear, meant only for her. "You see, this is the real world. And from now on, you're in it with me." Tears stung her eyes, bitter and hot. She knew then, with absolute clarity, there was no going back to her quiet, ordinary life. Once the ballroom settled, Adrian led Mai away from the blinding lights. They moved into the backstage corridor, where the echo of applause still lingered, but the air reeked of gun oil and steel. The man who had attacked them now knelt on the floor, restrained by 2 guards. Blood trickled from his arm, yet his eyes burned with hatred, locked on Adrian. "Blackwell," he spat, his voice hoarse. "Do you really think you can protect them forever? That woman, that boy, they're nothing but bait. Everyone who wants to watch you fall will come for them first." Mai froze, her chest seizing. His words slashed straight into her deepest fear. Her eyes stung as she imagined her son's face, fragile and innocent. Adrian bent down, gripping the man's jaw, his voice glacial. "You just signed your own death warrant." With a curt gesture, the guards dragged the man away, disappearing behind steel doors. Mai trembled, fighting to steady her breath. "Adrian," she whispered, broken. "If this keeps going, my son will never know a normal life. I can't let him grow up surrounded by guns and vendettas." Adrian turned, his gaze sharp, yet shadowed with rare weariness. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Mai, I told you, the moment you saved me, you stopped being an outsider. You and your boy became my world. And I swear, I'll protect you no matter the cost." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "But protection isn't everything. I need peace for my child, a home safe enough to breathe." Silence hung heavy. Mai knew then she had to choose. Walk away, clinging to fragile peace, or step fully into Adrian's world of power and danger, where shadows reigned, but where her son might have the strongest shield he'd ever know. Adrian laid a steady hand on her shoulder, his voice a husky vow. "The choice is yours, Mai, but once you decide, there will be no turning back." Mai lifted her tear-streaked face, her gaze trembling yet resolute. Deep inside, she knew. Tonight, her choice would define everything.